Chapter 3, Social Implications. One of the primary reasons that racism and or tribalism has at times become culturally acceptable among religionists is due to the methods sometimes used by the ancients to personify the celestial deities. The ancients saw the 186 days that the sun spent above the celestial equator as a time of enlightenment, brightness, light, illumination, and, contrarily, the 179 days below the equinoxes was viewed as a period of darkness, suffering, cold, threatening, blackness, concealment. So here you have the reasons behind why social implications behind why racism and tribalism has become socially acceptable, and it's because essentially they use their skin color to personify their own culture, and therefore we're at war with each other, just like Horus and Set. So this is essentially what this is saying. Theology confounded with mythology. Consequently, when they illustrated the evil gods or demons of the Netherworld, region below the equinoxes, in pictures or other images, they would often portray them as black or dark. So you have like the Kali Yuga, for example. That's why you have the goddess Kali, who's depicted as a black, dark goddess. She's of the Netherworld. So you can see this motif in a lot of different areas, in different mythologies. Don't take much to look at it. Hades, for example, in Greek mythology, was personified in the same manner. Cold, dark, evil, not a real person. Only fools think these are real people that actually lived. They did this to represent the period of solar adversity and contention vis-a-vis the powers of Satan. Being winter, right? During its passage through the regions, often symbolized as the valley of the shadow of death, right? So you say, hear the term, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? I should fear no evil. The devil is evil, right? And the devil is the loss of the sun, right? Because that's when people die, right? During the winter time, right? That's death, right? Used to be, still is for some people, if you're unfortunate. In other words, the unknown hidden regions beneath a location's horizon, encountered by the sun in its apparent daily revolution around the earth, or the cosmic region beneath the level of the equinoxes, encountered by the sun in its apparent journey through the nether regions during autumn-winter seasons. Darkness was used to exemplify the sun's adversity. So there you have the Christ in Judas, for example, right? Judas is a representation of Hades, for example. You see this depicted in the Last Supper, for example. Or the sun, S-U-N, S-O-N in parentheses, himself, when cast under a shadow, weakened by the opposing powers of the Netherworld. There are two categories of solar symbolism pertinent to the sun's passage through the Netherworld. One, the daily passage that comes each night when the sun disappears beneath the western horizon for its nightly journey through the unknown region that the ancients viewed as the Netherworld of conflicts and trials for the sun. And also, there was the annual cycle of trials, sufferings, and conflicts for the sun, encountered when the declination of the sun fell below the celestial equator into the regions of the lower hemisphere, there to sojourn for the duration of autumn through winter. Darkness is the antithesis of light, its eternal enemy or opponent in biblical symbolism. Conversely, the resurrection of the sun at the vernal equinox was a time when the sun became bright, lighter again. So the personified version of the sun at its glorious period would often be referred to in literature and pictorially as the coming of light. lighter colored representations of the solar deity, light overcoming darkness, or light blasting, shining into darkness, is a natural and welcome course of the sun. Right, so that's why you have the it's the cosmic egg in a sense, right? Coming forth, right? The bleeding into, right? But when the celestial mythology is brought into terrestrial theology and confounded by those who don't understand gnosis, i.e. the pertinent symbolic interpretation, the sociological result can be more than frightening. A strong example or the dire consequences of a misapplied or misinterpreted mythology or theology can be found historically in the devastation suffered by the Aztecs of Mesoamerica by the conquering Spanish. One of the savior deities of the Aztec religion was named Quetzalcoatl. He was described, which is also in relation to the black sun, by then as light-skinned and bearded. The dark antagonist Quetzalcoatl was called Tezcatlipoca, the god of the night sky. Tezcatlipoca. Yeah. So it's probably a little sun, right? I'd imagine little sun setting, Poca, Poco, right? Little. These two deities were, of course, locked in eternal conflict, a parallel which we find everywhere in ancient mythology. At the time of the Spanish onslaught, the cycle favored Tezcatlipoca, that is, Tezcatlipoca, had successfully expelled Quetzalcoatl from the region. In the context of the Aztec mythology, and the Aztecs were awaiting the prophesied return of the light-skinned and bearded Quetzalcoatl to reassert his primacy. So now comes the exploring Spanish, light-skinned and bearded, to the Aztec shores, and it behooved the Aztecs to make the crucial decision as whether to greet them as visitors or invaders. Unfortunately, for the Aztecs, they conflated their theology with the mundane realities of their day and suffered horribly the consequences of such folly. The Aztecs described their sun god as light-skinned and bearded. The light skin I have already explained. The reason that the ancients referred to the father sun as bearded could connote wisdom. So you have old man time there, right? The wise, right? The beard, facial hair, is the ancient symbol of wisdom, as well as advanced age or the later part of a cycle. So there you have like the hermit, right? That'd be expressed by the hermit card in the tarot deck, right? Facial hair is the